Thanking John Tyrrell, we're going to have Graham Stevenson will talk to us for a few moments.
Oh, well, I'm very glad that John just made that point because I think it was Arthur who first made the point about boycotting the EU elections. I know there'll be people who have a different point of view, but it's not right now, right this second, it's not a democracy, this is my point of view. In fact, it's the point of view of the Communist Party of Britain, which has also backed that call. I think it's very clear that almost 3 years after there should have been a resolution to the democratic vote on the issue of Brexit, that there's been a very concerted attempt to try to do what has happened in all EU elections and referenda, is to try to reverse the decision by creating a crisis. It's not in the interests of the big-scale capitalists and the banking industry to see Britain plough its own course, and they've been attempting to undermine this for all that time. Of course, workers' rights are absolutely vital, but workers' rights are rooted in the history and tradition and law of this country and in the struggles which working people have engaged in to protect them. And it is, in fact, the achievement of an immediate general election in which Labour can form a government and on the basis of even more radical manifesto than it ran in 2017, it will need to be free from the shackles of the legal and political and financial framework that the European Union, based on neoliberalism, has created. I think the recent elections have just shown us that it's not in Labour's interest to present itself as an anti-Brexit party. It's absolutely in its interest to ensure that where it's made those losses on Thursday in working class areas, primarily strongly working class areas that have been deindustrialised, that's where Labour lost its vote, because of the confusion and uncertainty about what Labour really stands for. Now, most of the Tory-held marginals that Labour must win to form a government are hardly that friendly towards Labour, and they've made it clear that they're not that friendly towards Theresa May. So they're hardly going to be won over on the basis of an anti-Brexit position. There is, I think, a different world to win, and very much it's exemplified by the mood and response of the Extinction Rebellion, those young people who are showing the way. They aren't disillusioned. They haven't had 40 years of crushing hostility. It's in the interests of wider working class to ally itself to the younger generation in a war against capitalist ownership, market anarchy, and for integrated transport system, planning of energy and the economy as a whole. That's what we need to be thinking about. And I'm astonished at those who would say that we should now support the Brexit Party. I'm not for the first time finding myself confused by George Galloway, who has allied himself to Farage. Instead of thinking of allying ourselves to the obnoxious or the slithery, we need to recall that boycotting has an honourable history. Every such vote that is spoiled must be recorded as if it's a vote and declared. And so therefore, instead of just not going to the polls, why don't we write on what we think? You can write socialism if you like. You can write any form of words or hostility you like, or you can write a friendly manifesto. The returning officer will count it as a vote. It will be displayed to all the candidates. They will count all of those votes and they will record them. It's got an honourable history, boycotting in an organised way. And our movement has this incredible spirit of defiance, not defence, defiance in our history. We don't often sing the second verse of the Red Flag. Well, it's perhaps not easily understood. Well, why does the sturdy German chant Chicago's praise? Why are Moscow's vaults singing with the hymn of Chicago, swelling the surging throng? Well, the big struggle in the late 19th century was to win 8 hours. 8 hours rest, 8 hours play, 8 hours work. And this coincided with the resurgence of a newish idea called socialism. And it had already begun to appear in Britain, and it transferred to America, where May Day first began. May Day began as a result of honouring hundreds of workers shot by police in Chicago after a massive general strike for the 8 hours movement. And that kind of movement is exactly what we need today. We need to be unified as best as we possibly can around issues that really concern us. We need to be, as the poet has it, like lions after slumber, in invanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep has fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few. Thank you very much.